A lot of us, how many of us in here had Indian in our blood? I know, oh, y'all got Indian in your blood. I got that little one straight hair, you be like, look, I got Indian. But most of us have Indian in our blood, and the most powerful thing that they can do is separate us from the natives of the land. And why is that? Because if you're not attached to the natives of the land, then you don't believe that you have any rights in this land.
You don't care for it.
You just believe that you're subservient to a people. It's anything like, if you go and you stay with somebody, or you live in a person's house, you know that you're under that person's rule, right? Is there any time that you actually believe that this is your house? No. So what they had to do was create a smokescreen for us to believe that we are not the Native Americans, but we are Negroes who came over here later. Since our youth, there's certain things that have been placed inside of our mind to brainwash us and remove us from the reality of who we are. We used to say things like, you're an Indian giver. You remember that?
Yeah.
Like, you're an Indian giver. You never asked what an Indian giver means?
Nope.
Everything was about you, African booty scratcher. Y'all remember saying that?
Yeah.
You say all derogatory stuff about you. Look at them, and it took me a long time to realize what soup coolers were. I was like, damn, oh, the big lips, they blow the soup. You know, so a lot of stuff that we used against each other was tearing up who we actually were and making us feel bad about ourselves. An Indian giver, you know where that term comes from? I had my son look it up. It just popped in my head maybe a month ago. I said, look up Indian giver. Indian giver comes from the Americans saying that, the Europeans saying that the Indians gave them the land and now they want it back. Chapter 1, Jews in America. And you have sound arguments validifying the theory of Hebraic lineage of the Aztec Indians of Mexico. But there is still some more. There were other events recorded by Spaniards that hinted towards the Israelites' extraction of Aztecs, such as an ancient Indian painting which shows how the sands of very fine hail rained upon from the sky of their forefathers during their journey that they made to this land. Once again, the biblical story of manna from heaven in Exodus 16 chapter is related and also happening to these Indians. Wow. One might ask himself if these Aztecs were some of the very same Israelites who helped build the majestic pyramids in Egypt. Many scholars have been intrigued at the shocking similarities between the pyramids of Giza and those of El Templo Mayer and other temples that were found throughout the Tenochtitlan and magnificent and resplendent cities that were said to have been by Hernando Cortez. And I'm going to get into Cortez a little bit. And here goes some more. Afterwards, we're finding shields of David in the Aztec temples along with Hebrew inscriptions. Wow. You can read the book Unexpected Faces in Ancient America by Alexander von Rutheniot. And after hearing the accounts of these people, which we just mentioned above, Cortex realized who he was dealing with the barbaric cruelty seldom matched in history. All right, so that's the Cortez story. Cortez story is a little corrupted, but we're going to get into that because a lot of your Bugs Bunny and Warner Brother cartoons is all dealing with Native American cover-up. Brian D. Stubbs is a linguist. Among the tentative conclusions, Stubbs finds that the Uto-Aztecan as a language family exhibits more similarities with Hebrew than could be attributed to coincidence. Wow. So now they're saying, because some people just saying it's just a coincidence. And there's so much information how the Hebrews were traveling because the Hebrews had a shore city. They were dealing with the Phoenicians. They were dealing with Tyre. They were dealing with Tarshish, who were the travelers. See, we get into, oh, it was Egyptians, or it was this, or it was that. No, they collectively traveled together. They didn't individually send individual ships. They came together as a union and they united to make travels back and forth. So that's why you see a lot of these things happening. All right? It says that Hebrew elements is obviously a mix of other languages, elements very different from Hebrew. While no Uto-Aztecan language shows the same level of derivation from Hebrew as Spanish does from Latin, there are still many traces of similarity suggesting some degree of contact. All right? Continue. Over 1,000 similarities have been derived, enough to merit further investigation. Examples of similarities include the plural suffix "im" in the Northwest Semitic. If you know anything about Hebrew, when you add on the "n," "im," it makes it plural, right? The branch of the Hebrew belongs to, and "ima" in many other UA languages. The passive prefix of "ni" in the Northwest Semitic and prefix of "na" in the UA Northwest Semitic. Yasab as the perfect form of the verb to sit or to dwell compared to Yasipa in UA. Adam meaning man in Hebrew compared to old time. Sons of the sun. Montezuma, the Aztec leader when the Spaniard Cortez invaded Mexico, reminded his ministries and his dignitaries. You know as I do. Now this is Montezuma, the Aztec leader. And there's different Montezumas also. All right? You know as I do that our ancestors did not hail from this country we live in, but came here from a distant land led by a great prince. This prince then left the country again with only a few of his followers, but returned a long time afterwards. This great prince, who's the great prince? Left with a few of his followers, then came back a long time afterwards. Moses.
Wow.
He saw that our ancestors, his subject, had built towns, had chosen wives from the daughters of the country, and had children by them, and that they settled in their new land and would not go back with him. Their prince, since they no longer wanted him as their ruler, he went away alone, announcing that he would one day remote future either return himself with an immense army or send someone in his name to take back what is his due. A speech given by Montezuma soon after the arrival of the Spaniards. So they already routing their people up. They know that when they're coming up, they say he's going to come back. He's either going to come back with an army or he's going to come back with somebody to represent him. So what happens is, and you're going to see this, and I read a book called When the Rocks Cry Out. When the Rocks Cry. It shows you the parallel. Whatever they did over there in the Middle East, they did it over here. Same exact thing. Parted waters, rivers, built the same communities, the kingdoms. Memphis is over here. All of these things, they were already built over here. America is a graveyard. If you know what I mean. America is a graveyard. You're walking on a city that's over a city that's over a city. Meaning a couple of miles down or maybe 100 feet down, there's another city under this. Now, why would Americans go to the end of the earth and cover up the whole city? You know who has the most pyramids on the planet?
South America.
America? Mm-hmm. America got the most pyramids, way more than Africa. I want to go to Africa, I want to go see pyramids. Ooh. They all here. Majority of them here. Yeah, you got to dig them up. They got them in Ohio, they got them all over the place. The mounds, the hills, they're even in Georgia.
Wow. They're
even in Georgia. See, here we don't know what's going on. Dan will be a serpent in the way, right? So now we go to the Celts and the Scottish people, right? And you go in Genesis 49:17, you already know this. Dan will be a serpent in the way, don't gotta pull up the book. And this is dealing with Quetzalcoatl, right? Quetzalcoatl is always depicted as a serpent with feathers. All right. Now, anybody know anything about Kundalini energy? That's all they're telling you. They're telling you somebody came over here that knew how to master their Kundalini energy. Some gifted people were special, but they got a thing, and I'm going to show you. Did the natives worship the white man? Now here's a question, because Cortez tells the people this. He tells them, and I want you to listen to this part, you don't listen to anything else. Quetzalcoatl, he is, what we explained, was a leader that was coming from the east. And the people worship him. He was called the white man. But I just said Quetzalcoatl was a Hebrew Israelite, right? Mm-hmm. He was called the white man. Now this is where the mistake starts to happen and the Europeans play on our ignorance. When they say the white man, they're talking about Quetzalcoatl was the shining light. He was the shining one. He was the illuminated one. Wasn't the white man. So now they tell you, when they tell you, they try to give you images that when the white man came over, the Indians did what? Worshiping him. That's a myth. Number 58 in Mayans' belief, right? And we got to share it. 58, when you seen 58 to the Mayans, it was the end of the world, some destruction was going to come in, everything was going to get destroyed, judgment was coming. You know what number is 58 in Hebrew? No. You see the correlation, right? They still have the same spiritual systems inside. We still have the same spiritual system when we deal with it. Like even when we deal with the Hebrew, when we deal with, I told you about Phineas killing music and all of that. Phineas or Picas meaning the mouth of the serpent. Where's the mouth of the serpent? Located what? In the third eye, which is your pineal gland and your pituitary gland. So when we look at the systems, when they're showing you a system that elevates. When you look at Moses, Moses is going through all of these places. He's going through the temples of Egypt. He's battling, throwing down the rod and turning into a serpent. And the Most High said, grasp it by his tail. He said, grasp it by his tail. That's what he told Moses. Moses grasps it by his tail, and then what? He takes control of it. Because guess what? Your Kundalini energy is wrapped 3 times at the base of your spine, and the only how to get it is to control the base of the spine and cause that breathing technique to cause your sacral pump that's at the bottom to use your cranial pump to continue to pump your Kundalini energy up and down. He's just telling you how to master yourself. These people who travel, they walk with different sciences. They were monsters. That's what they came with. That's why people was worshiping them. Like, dang, you told us how to almost levitate. That's what these people were. We were bringing spiritual systems to the world. All right, Cherokee and Yowa. The creator title is Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. What does Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh mean?
He is, he will be, he exists.
He exists. What does that mean? Infinite.
Infinite energy.
Yeah. Infinite energy. All right, the Indians from Tennessee and North Carolina, the name was so sacred because they called their God Yowa. The Cherokee Indians in Tennessee and North Carolina. The name was so sacred the high priest could only mention it. Sounds like Hebrews. Mm-hmm. They could only sing it in the hymn once a year, similar to the Kaddish Lavana, a Hebrew prayer. So even when you go into it, when they started going into the hymn, you go into the Aztecs. The Aztecs got a hymn. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. There's an ancient Aztec hymn. They're calling on the name of the Creator. They're calling on the name of the Creator.
Wow, that's crazy.
And you can deny, you can't deny. That's your breath. Yo, breathe into you. That's you breathing. You say the name of the Creator when you breathe. This is the lost ones. I know everybody's seen this, but this is just some of the stuff on the closing because it could see a little foggy and maybe you don't believe it. So let's show. And the reason why you're not going to see this in any museum is because of manifest destiny. If they put hieroglyphs or Hebrew artifacts in the museums, that means that manifest destiny has to be reversed. The Smithsonian rejects any hieroglyphic or ancient artifacts in America because manifest destiny says that America was full of barbaric people who were uneducated and we have to conquer them to educate them. Wow. So if you show that they were already educated and the same book that you've given them, they already know about it. There was a man, I forgot his name, and oh man, it's killing me. He worked for the American government. He had an old Bible. So it was a Septuagint. It was this old Septuagint, right? And it was written in Greek. And he wanted it to be translated. You know the only people that translated that book for him? The Cherokees.
What? Wow.
Because guess what? Greek is similar to what? Hebrew.
Yeah.
Greek derives from Hebrew. So they translate the Bible from them. They'll tell you that we have the same God as the white. We have the same God as the white man. But the white man don't believe that stuff. So when you get the correlation, you read certain things, let's say Hebrew Israelites and they were white, or the leader of the Hebrew Israelites is white, they're not telling you that their complexion was white. They're just talking about the glow. The white man gonna switch it out and see, that's me. And that's what happens. You know, the white man knows this history. You know why? You can find this in the Book of Mormons. A lot of this information is in the Book of Mormons. But what does he tell you in the Book of Mormons? There were two, the Native Americans, the Aztecs, the Mayans, and the Incas, they were the Israelites. But one was evil and he was turned black.
Yeah, that's what they said.
That's the same thing they tell you about the curse of Ham and Canaan, that he was turned black. That's a dang lie.
Exactly.
That's manipulation. That's something that ain't even in the books. They made that up. So why would you make that? Why would you say the curse they turned black when they know they were black? A perfect example, you see the Redskins, they have a ruddy complexion. That means that they're connected to where you see the land of Phoenicia. Because Greek, what I said earlier, Phoenicia means red dye. I mean red dye, they were calling the people the red people. When you see in the origins of ancient Egyptian civilization, you see a group called the Anu. They were reddish people that came from the east. They all connected. So like you said, we ain't talking about the dark skin and the reddish person or different people. No, we're not saying that. That there is a difference. Oh, and that one, my bad. This is the Ten Commandments. This is found, this Lost Lunas Hebrew inscription found in New Mexico.